Joining us this morning is Mr. Christian Maher from the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation. Christian, good morning. How are you?
Wonderful.
I know. I think around the 10th you're supposed to stop saying Happy New Year. But
Happy New Year.
You know, I haven't seen you since prior to the holidays,
True.
so Happy New Year to you.
And today's the 13th.
It is. That's right. Is that what you're watching this week?
No. Maybe. That'd be fun.
Did you get through the holidays all right?
My mother was in the hospital, and then I got the flu, so the last 2 weeks of the year were less than ideal.
Wow.
But I guess it was relaxing, some of it, bedridden. So, I need a vacation from the end of the year.
The holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's all been great since then. I mean, the new year has
good.
been wonderful.
I didn't know where to start now.
No, I mean, if you're into astrology, I think they were saying that the end of the year was Mercury retrograde, which is always a challenging time.
Oh,
so
okay.
Now that's over. So
Excellent.
I just chalk it all up to that.
Well, are you excited for the new year?
I really am. Things are going really well. Exciting new things happening, and being kept very busy by a lot of stuff. So, it's all good. It's 2023 is going to be our year, man.
Is that how it works?
That's how I've decided. I mean, we're finally going to get through this whole pandemic thing, and things are just going to be all wine and roses in 2023. I
should jot this down and ask you in 11
Don't
months
you
what's
dare.
going to happen. Wine and roses, was it? Fresh opportunities, a lot to build off of what you've been doing.
Yeah.
Kind of give us a rundown of 2023.
So before we went on air, you and I were talking about nonprofit organizations, which is really what we're kind of focused on at the Community Foundation. And we're putting together two programs with a friend of ours, Deb Thompson out of Erie, called Best Practices in Board Governance. And so whether you've been on a nonprofit board for 50 years and you think you know everything, you do not know everything, and you should come out to these sessions. We're doing two of them, one in Titusville and one in Meadville. The Titusville one is on February 9th, and the Meadville one is on January 26th. And both of these are focused on really giving you the basics of what it means to be a good board member for a nonprofit organization, what your legal responsibilities are, what your ethical responsibilities are, what kinds of things might be expected of you, and really gives you an opportunity to think about what you need to be prepared to do as a nonprofit board member. And Deb comes down from Erie. She's associated with the Pennsylvania Association of Nonprofit Organizations, also known as PANO. And she's going to, we've got some fun interactive games for people. It's and if we have a lot of interest, we'll add an additional session for folks to come, because we know that an evening time is not necessarily perfect for everybody. And really what we're trying to do as the Community Foundation is to make every nonprofit organization in our community run like a well-oiled machine. Whether you're a totally volunteer organization or you're an organization that has millions and millions of dollars in operating capital, you all face a lot of the same issues. There's all sorts of things you need to do governance-wise.
Can you talk a little bit about, like, I think when somebody gets asked to be on a board, they think, oh, that's great. I'm going to do a very good thing for the community. I'm going to help out.
Which is important.
It's important. But what's the legality part of it is where people I don't think realize sometimes.
Right. So, I mean, you in acting in the best interest of a nonprofit organization, you take on a legal responsibility to that organization, that there are certain aspects of that organization's debts that you could be personally liable for in the event that things go wrong. You have to make decisions in the best interest of the organization, even if those decisions conflict with your own personal or business outlook. So you have certain duties that will be outlined in this program that you have to maintain. Even like I said, if you own a business and board's having a discussion and it's not the best thing for your business, you shouldn't be making decisions about those things. You should either leave the room, or and then also along those lines, all organizations should have conflicts of interest policies, so that people, when they're getting on a board, they're identifying what those conflicts are, so that, if you work for XYZ Bank and the nonprofit board that you're on is like, oh, well, can we just put this money with XYZ Bank? You probably shouldn't be in the room discussing that. It's not illegal, but it's not entirely ethical.
Isn't that interesting? That came up at I won't mention which council meeting, but there was a council meeting where somebody was like, well, maybe you shouldn't vote because this affects you. But the attorney's like, well, you could make that case for almost anything.
Right. So, and again, there's a lot of gray areas. And so these are the things that it's important to discuss. It's important to be aware of, so that really that you're making good decisions when you're invited to be on a nonprofit board. And I think what happens a lot of time, because I've been guilty of this too, is, your nonprofit has an opening and you're like, oh, I'm going to ask my friend because I like them. They're easy to get along with. Maybe they'll go along with what I want to do. And that's not always the best way to do things either. But we're not always reaching out to people ahead of time being like, hey, this is what the nonprofit is about. These are the kind of responsibilities we expect to give of your time, talent, and treasure, which means that you're giving some amount of your time to come to board meetings. You're giving your talent in that you're giving the expertise that you have in your industry, whether you're a banker, a lawyer,
Indian chief.
or Indian chief. And then you're giving your treasure. You're giving some money every year towards the organization in whatever percentage makes sense for the organization. So all of those things are important, and it's really important, again, and I think you and I were also talking before we went on air, is a lot of the people that I talk to at least, are like, oh, well, I've been on a nonprofit board for 30 years. I know everything. I can assure you that you don't know everything. Like everything, nonprofits have changed over the last 30, 40 years. There's always something new and different. And we had some discussions in the office about how do we incentivize this? And so we decided that any organization that's sending a couple of board members to this, if they're asking us for grants in the future, they'll get additional points in our grant making process.
Really?
So that's not saying that they're definitely getting a grant. It's just saying that when we're considering those grants, we know that board has done better work and invested in this governance process, that we give them a couple of extra points in that process. Oh, wow. So they get more consideration. It's always, everything's carrot and stick, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so this is our carrot. There's part of me that wants to be like, okay, if you don't come, you get nothing. But I figure that's no way to make friends or influence people.
No, probably not. Real quick, just to kind of refresh everybody's mind here on that. Thursday, January 26th is the one in Meadville.
Yep.
And it's going to be held at the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation office.
I think we're actually looking for a new space because we've very quickly filled up our space.
Really?
So
good for you.
I'll let people know.
Okay. All right. So do they call you or do they contact Amanda?
They can contact Amanda in the office or they can call me, whichever works. It depends who picks up the phone quickest.
Okay. So, but RSVP, what happens if somebody just shows up or they don't recommend that?
I prefer that people not show up because we're planning food. It's an evening.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We're not just going to make you go until 6:30 without anything.
You guys are doing it right.
Well, we try. Well, I mean, I'm as long as I don't pick out the menu, then we're doing it right.
Okay. Well, I don't mean to make that like, oh, surprise. No, it's
No,
you guys
I
always
mean-
do everything right. And then Thursday, February 9th, that's going to be held at Titusville Community Development Agencies in the Town Square Conference Center. Okay.
And so plenty of room there. So I don't think we have to worry too
And
much
you've
about
sent
it.
this out to everybody so they can.
We're still disseminating this. This is on our Facebook. I should probably put it on LinkedIn as well. Haven't gotten there yet. But if you get this and you know other people who are in organizations, feel free to send it out. Make sure that you share it on Facebook if you're someone who follows us and you think it's a good idea for your friends and neighbors to be involved. And again, we'll, if there's enough need and interest, we'll offer these again. We feel like this is a really good investment in our nonprofit community, and so we want to see more of this kind of thing. And we also want to know what our nonprofit community think we need in addition to this, because this is just the first step. This is the introductory program. So what does your nonprofit need that you're not getting from us already? I mean, it's nice to ask us for a grant, but are there ways that we can help build your capacity so that you're just firing on all cylinders? Like, what do you need from us? Let us know.
All right. You're watching the Morning Drill on Stream Television and on Armstrong's Neighborhood Channel and listening to it on the Allegheny News Talk Sports Network. Christian Moore with us here this morning, Crawford Heritage Community Foundation. So you're kicking off the year with this, which is fantastic.
Kicking off the year with education, kicking off the year with giving out some money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we just had two grant committee meetings this week, and we'll be announcing in the beginning of February discretionary grants for this year. We had a lot of projects that we considered and putting some money towards many of them. A couple of them, unfortunately, won't see funding, but it's a competitive process. We've got a lot of different funding categories, and we actually have some new money to go for some of them. We had some folks in my office at the end of last year who were starting a new fund, and so the Hall family came in, and it's an interesting one. They're putting money towards animal rescues, buying books for libraries, arts programming. So kind of all over the place with that one.
Will that apply to Pencrest?
It'll apply to a lot of places.
Okay, all right.
So
Hot topic.
I always have the politically correct answer, right? I mean,
I'm just testing you,
I don't wade into the controversy easily. Maybe after a few drinks. We've got a new distillery down at the well, I guess.
That's right.
So I mean, we
yeah.
can head down there.
Yeah, and Meadville's got
And Meadville's got one too. Yeah, so it's a great time to be in Crawford County.
You could probably talk a little bit about this, just the rebirth of the downtowns that we're seeing. It's great. You go down Chestnut Street, even Titusville, where you had a couple empty storefronts a couple years ago, are now filled.
Well, I think a lot of us, we've kind of realized that we want vibrant downtowns, and it takes some people who have the ability to invest in those kind of things, which luckily we seem to have enough of a critical mass. And now it's kind of incumbent upon all of us to get out and appreciate these things, go out and enjoy our breweries, our distilleries, our restaurants, all of those things, now that we have that opportunity again. So,
but as people are kind of reinvesting into the downtowns, are you seeing that people are also, not that they haven't in the past, but is that translating into giving as well? Like, are you seeing people say, hey, well, you know what? Yes, I need to invest in my community. One of those great ways is like Crawford Heritage.
I mean, I think I see all of these organizations are, trying to build relationships locally because they know that, it's your local customers and things. And so I see a lot of these organizations who are giving back to the community. The French Creek Coffee and Tea in Meadville, for example, part of their profits help to support the French Creek Valley Conservancy and the Foundation for Sustainable Forests, because that is something that they feel really passionately about. And and of course, like every kind of thing like that, they're by their checkout is postered with or plastered with posters for different nonprofit events that are coming up. You know what the next thing is at the Academy Theater, and so I see a lot of hometown pride, and people really want to see what's going on, want to see their friends and things. You know, we've got super talented people here on stages, performing music at places, and so I think I think what it comes down to is that we're all in some way wanting community. So we want good friends and neighbors. We want people that we can rely on when we need something. We want to help our neighbors when they need something. And so that's really what it all comes down to. So it's nice to see kind of that revitalization going on. But it's going to take more work from us all.
Yeah.
And it's going to take us all avoiding the big box stores when we know that there's a local option. Not choosing the Amazon option on our phone when I can go down the street to the bookstore and order what I want from them. It's not as convenient.
No. That's not what I was. No, and you see that I think that support. Crawford gives us a good example of that, where you see just the community saying, "Yeah, it's important to support these nonprofits," but also when people are coming into your office and saying, "Hey, I want to make sure this program will be here, 30 years from now."
Right. And so I've got, folks that were talking about their churches and things like that, and how do we make sure that there's money for their church when they need it, or they've been involved in a nonprofit organization for, a long time, and they are passionate about their mission, and they're like, I want to put some money aside so that, when I'm gone, that organization's still going to receive a payment every year in my name, and they're going to know that I really stood behind them. And that's important.
Absolutely. Is this a good time of year to sit down with you? I ask you this all the time.
Well, this time of year is great. I mean, we're always busy, but right now, next week, I'm taking a group of accountants out to lunch, because that's a big thing that we do, is taking accountants, attorneys, financial advisors, getting them to talk to their clients.
Yeah.
So...
well, not to be stupid, but people this time of year too are thinking, okay, healthier me, new year,
Right.
but it's something you've always said, do you have your will in place? Do you have everything down just in case?
Yeah. All right. My friend Ty Crossman, who's one of those attorneys, just this week, I think, posted, he's like, this is the time of year, like new year, new you.
Yeah.
Like these are the things to kind of think about. And so, again, there's never really a bad time for us, but right now I've got a lot, like I'm really focusing on outreach and taking people out to lunch, reconnecting with people that I haven't seen in a while. So if you've been waiting to have lunch with me and or dinner or something like that, and you're like, oh, I wonder if he's busy. Right now is probably the perfect time. January is slower than other times of our year. So
scholarships.
Scholarship applications are online. I don't think we're making any changes to them this year. It'll follow the same process. We're going to reevaluate at the end of this year because we might have some software opportunities that might make the process flow a little easier. But no different monies for this year. Nobody created scholarships last year, so it's pretty much the same kind of thing. But it's if you have a graduating high school senior especially, now is the time to light the fire under them. Especially if they're, a hardworking student that might need some additional money to subsidize their college career. That's what we're here for. So applications are online.
Well, where they want to RSVP, do scholarships, talk to you about grants, make an appointment to sit with you, how do they find you?
There's always crawfordheritage.org, or people can always call the office at 814-336-5206.
Good to see you this morning.
Hey, lovely to see you too.
Hopefully it's a better start to the year than the way you ended last year.
Truly.
Thanks, Christian.
Hey, perfect.
All right, take care.
You too.